Yummy, yummy.
One of the latest trends in cinema that is proving to be very divisive between fans, not just as a concept, but individual films have their fair share of defenders and haters.
Hi, I'm Baffled Egg, and today I'm going to be looking at some of the specific problems I have with this new phase of horror requels.
Before I start, you might notice that some of these problems can relate to requels and legacy sequels in general.
But it's a lot easier for me to talk about horror requels specifically, as I'm just a huge fan of horror, I'm a huge horror nerd, and it's easier to just talk about something you love, you know?
Problem number 1. They're all the exact same movie. The lineage of an original character comes back to the location of the original movie or has grown up there, aware of the past events. The original killer returns decades later to kill again. Moments and scenes are paralleled, reversed, mirrored, copied, paid homage to, however you want to describe it, and original characters are brought back to look over the newbies / face off against the villain one last time. Props if you kill them off.
Actually, no. Fuck you if you kill them off.
Problem numero dos. No requel has, or in my opinion, will ever surpass the original in quality. Now, why is that a problem? Well, you do a remake to outdo the original. Requels aren't like certain movies that you didn't realize were remakes, like John Carpenter's The Thing, or movies that you can't compare because they're so different, like both Dawn of the Dead movies, or remakes that are generally just better than the original. You decide for yourself what that example is going to be. But the point of a requel is really nostalgia. Not as horrifically obvious like some blockbuster equals and this era of multiverse superhero movies, but it's still there. These movies are made first and foremost for money,
Obviously. All movies are.
but it's impossible for any new ground to be made as the fear of straying too far off the beaten path just leads into retreading old grounds and half-baked attempts to make something new. A lot of these requels are generally unnecessary installments in already convoluted timelines for the most part, removing certain sequels from continuity which were great additions to the franchise and arguably made these killers household names. The same exact problem can be seen with the wave of gritty remakes that plagued the 2000s, copying imagery and plot without the soul and often forgetting what made the original so great. The Nightmare on Elm Street remake had none of the charm and fun of the original, but I will say the added element of micronaps and continuing brain functionality were very cool additions. If they were to make another Nightmare movie,
Which I pray they don't.
it would be interesting to see these ideas brought over and explored more instead of ideas that just come into play once and are forgotten again. 3. How can these movies continue? Unlike the original sequels that could go on forever, quality notwithstanding, these requels don't seem to have any kind of longevity. I'm not talking commercially or critically, I'm talking numbers wise. Halloween Ends killed off Michael Myers for good, and I know there are plans to continue on the Halloween franchise, but this trilogy of requels led by Jamie Lee Curtis is finally over. And Scream 7. What on earth could it be about? Before Spyglass unjustly fired Melissa Barrera, before Scream 7 was to be a reboot of the franchise, what would it have been about? There are no other examples than Halloween Ends, which is not in any position to be copied, of a third installment in a requel trilogy. We've had movies, sequels, trilogies, remakes, prequels, franchises as templates for the rules and the meta commentary, but what could it have been about? With Scream 6 focusing on franchises, as they kind of had nothing else left to do, they wrote themselves into a little box on how to continue this movie series. Safe to say, even if they do make a seventh with a new director, new cast, the franchise is dead. Scream is always a commentary in the current state of horror, but it has now become the current state. Leatherface is just too damn old. Chucky's finding new ways to kill over on the small screen. Robert Englund has hung up the glove and funky jumper, and there are few franchises that have common audience knowledge to rely on the average moviegoer to want to return to cinemas to watch a requel of that original. With Megan, Art the Clown, and Freddy Fazbear killing it at the box office, as well as A24 and other horror companies receiving critical acclaim due to their originality and artistry, it may be a better idea for studios to dump this requel trend and focus on creating new franchises that create household names that can rival that of Jason and Leatherface. Getting back to an earlier point about eliminating continuity, strangely enough, Scream and Chucky and Evil Dead very, very loosely continue on the lore of the franchises, with multiple returning characters and plot lines from any random sequel, straying from the formula of making direct sequels to the original, starting with H2O, which ignored everything after 2.
To be clear, now would probably be a good time to tell you that I'm a huge fan of these movies, by the way. I absolutely adore some of them. I don't mind some of the rest, and some of them are just fine. Like, I don't really care that much. I don't hate them. It's just easier to dog on something you care about rather than find something good in something you don't care about. I especially love the newest Scream sequels. Writing aside, I think they're excellent films, very well directed, and I love the cast in them. They're just all around good movies, and I do think some of them are on par with some of the other sequels.
Back to the rant. In the latest entry in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series, the film follows several different characters being attacked by Leatherface, yet none of the Sawyer family is present. Why? Just because Leatherface is the face of the franchise doesn't mean that the other antagonists weren't what helped make the first two movies great. Also, the fact that they brought back Sally just to literally throw her in the fucking trash, I'm still undecided if that's a comment on Halloween or not. And the fact that Leatherface is a jigsaw mastermind and can plan out traps and has the ability to strategize now. These requels just don't understand why the originals are so popular among horror fans, only general audiences, which is recognition. Halloween was a scary, tense, and eerie film that gave you a sense of dread the whole time, only to be ended with a great, but not over the top, jump scare. Halloween 2018 instead focuses more on themes, metaphors, takeaways, messages, the trauma, the PTSD, the fear, the town dread, the urban legend, and the kills. The gory, gory kills. But it's not scary. I mean, to me, I understand that I am probably more jaded when it comes to scares, and it takes more to frighten me than it might the average person when it comes to a scary movie. But Halloween is still so fucking scary after many, many viewings, even when you know what's going to happen down to the exact frame count. Leprechaun is not a good movie.
Wow. Great segue.
But Warwick Davis's performance as the little shit, the charm and the aloofness makes that movie and all the sequels very fun watches. And I'll give Leprechaun Returns some credit for being the first in this new requel era, even though Halloween 2018 definitely popularized it. And requels are already a popular thing in Hollywood, and H2O came out 20 years before. And the Evil Dead remake is technically a remake due to sharing the same continuity and the fact that the book can influence events and time and... Never mind. Halloween fucking ends, eh? It's clear that the team behind this trilogy put everything they had into making the first a great movie. A perfect example of how a requel should be made. It's a genuinely great movie. I love it. But the fact that this movie's existence made people believe that a Texas Chainsaw requel could be made definitely knocks some points off it retroactively. But after two sequels were greenlit, Kills came out and it was fine. Nothing great. A step down for sure, but at least it delivered on what was promised. The kills, and then ends. Making Kills look like The Godfather Part 2. I don't want to harp on it too much because everything I want to say has been said to death already by fucking nut jobs online, so I won't say much. But if you ask me, to improve the trilogy as a whole, swap Kills and ends, but keep the final act. So it would go like this. Halloween. Michael is presumed dead at the end in the fire. Kills begins 4 years later with Corey, Jeremy's death, and the events of most of ends, except Michael is not there to kill with Corey. Corey goes on a rampage using the Michael mask. People think it's him, the mob justice, all that still happens. Then Corey is killed in Laurie's house. A bit anticlimactically. You go, wait, what's going on? That's the end. No, it's not, because Michael Myers is back. He kills Karen. He kills the whole mob in that awesome final scene, and boom, Michael is back. Then Ends begins, but with the opening scene of Kills. You have a flashback to 4 years earlier. The firefighters arrive on the scene. You've all seen it. It's awesome. Pretty sure it's on YouTube. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. Michael Myers just completely obliterates some firefighters. It's awesome. Then you have the rest of Kills. Michael is back after 4 years. He is hungry to kill again. He goes on a fucking rampage. And then, after a whole movie of blood and gore and non-stop violence, you have a low-key, personal 1v1 Laurie Strode, Michael Myers. Obviously, plot and other storylines would need to be changed, and people would still hate the Corey stuff for Kills, but at least it wouldn't be the final chapter focusing on Corey. It would be the middle. People would hate it, no doubt. Then you could go, no, you've seen that. You've seen the end. Michael's back. Come back next year because it's going to be the proper final showdown, okay?
Anyway, that's the end of this. If you'd liked it, maybe you want to stick around for some more stuff, like, share, subscribe. Comment on any ideas you may have. I've got a bunch in the bank, but if you have any specific stuff, maybe I'd get into it. It's a variety channel where I'll be posting stuff from college and stuff I do in my own spare time, a bunch of skits, a bunch of just random shit that I do. But there will be more video essays like this. This is stuff I love. So if you want to go check some of that stuff out, feel free to. I mean, it's up there now. If you don't, cool. And to everyone sticking around watching this bit, thank you, and see you later, losers.